This is the Paranormal Search radio show and podcast. Discussing unexplainable events that shape our extraordinary world.
Three, two, one, fire!
And this is episode 2. In this episode, it will be a continuation of the last podcast discussion. We start off with UFO sightings in the lower Paxton Township, which is outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And then we get into some Bigfoot stuff. So thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the show.
We want to know who's having the most sightings, where the most sightings are, and where we got to do our defense at with this. Mm-hmm. And when we say defense, meaning going in there and going after this stuff and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Because there is just so much stuff going on. And Butch will say, well, there's not much going on up in Dauphin County. You're wrong there. We had 25 UFO sightings in that 1 year. Get out of here. Why aren't they reported? Because he's mad because nobody's reporting them to Peter Davenport. And, you know, sometimes people don't want us doing that. But I think it's come to the time now where we do have to do this. And me and Butch had talked about this. And I said to Butch, I said, go for it. Go for it. I said, you like to do a lot of work, buddy. Go for it. And this is going to take some work. Now, as far as us, we are the only organization in Lower Paxton Township. There is nobody else. Yeah. Or Dauphin County. So I got some reports from Dauphin, too. So what I'll do is I'll write everything down. I'm going to tell him what it is or send it to him. And then this county will be done. And Lower Paxton will be done. And we'll move on to Susquehanna Township. Very seldom anything going on in Susquehanna Township for some reason.
Well, except for, I don't know if you want to put her name out there. Yeah. It's good photographs of some weird things in Susquehanna Township.
Yeah, she's just, her and a police officer watched one of those triangular UFOs go over a park in Mechanicsburg.
Yeah, square shape. She actually got that on video in Susquehanna, not on video, on smartphone picture in Susquehanna Township itself.
Well, no, this is a new one. This just happened weeks ago. Okay. And she's in a wheelchair. She got an electric wheelchair. She goes everywhere. And she was sitting with the cop. And this thing went over it. They said they couldn't see no stars. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And this thing was just like, you wouldn't hear engines or nothing, but you'd hear from it going through the atmosphere, and it went over them. And the cop said, I have no clue how I'm going to explain this in my report. And that was the first thing that came out of his mind. And she's seen two orbs fighting on a roof, too. They were going after each other.
With fisticuffs? With fisticuffs? Like, was it?
No, they were just chasing each other. And then the one took off. The one went up 6 foot and it took off. They were orange.
We went to all kind of different directions around here, didn't we?
Also on the Susquehanna River is the airport. But before the airport, was it the air base?
It was Olmsted Air Force Base.
And interesting that there is an airport right near. At least at one point was an Air Force. Yeah. Do you think any sightings may have been attributed?
Yes, there has.
That's it's a big elephant in the room when it comes to talking about this. Is here because they are a curse and a blessing because they're putting out a lot of craft. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in the sky because of them that people are misidentifying. I'm sure I've done that myself. But they've also been a blessing because weren't they contacted after the big one of 2014 to see whether or not there was anything in this area, and they could confirm that there was not. So I mean, on the one hand, they got all the weird things in the sky. On the other hand, they got all the radar to tell what's ours and what's potentially quote unquote theirs.
Right. I'm of the opinion that the military, there's a black military beneath them. Our military and our government has enough problems on their hands. trying to keep the nation straight in the world. They have there's an
Yeah.
underground that probably tells them, you need to stay away from what we're doing. We're going to be doing projects here.
Well,
Yeah.
We're going to be chasing these things. We're going to be creating
Very
things
true.
using
Wait a
propulsion
minute.
systems from
the
UFOs.
thing about
You can't tell me.
here
they don't
here's
know
where
something
I'm
about
going to
that.
hit you with a good one. If you take City Island, you take all these islands up this way, you
Yeah.
take all these islands down this way. The Indians use those islands all the time. We're digging up artifacts there. Now, UFOs have been seen to going up and down Susquehanna River.
Yeah.
Okay, and even sucking water out of the Susquehanna
Oh
River.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
So you got to remember the Susquehanna Indians used those islands. There is a lot of UFO activity on the Susquehanna River. Now, I took Tony and also took Vic over to where that young man drowned, that wrestler. And right where he was is two big towers. You know, those high tension tower lines?
Right.
Now, here's my personal opinion. Everything that boy owned was on that island. Nothing was in the water. Okay? I think he was abducted. We didn't find his body for 3 months. And you know where they found it? Down by the Lancaster Dam.
Wow.
Where in the hell was he for 3 freaking months? And we went to the restaurant there in New Cumberland. Me and Vic went in there. And Vic, he's all out with everything. This young waitress comes over and she says, "Hey Vic, how's it going?" "Good." He says, "This is my friend Ross. He's a UFO investigator." And she just looked at me funny. And she said, "You're here about that drowning, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am. And I want to know how to get to that dock." And she said, "There's something to that case." And she was talking to us about it, and her boss come over and made her leave.
Wow.
He wouldn't let her talk to
That's
us no
amazing.
more. There's something, I don't think that young man fell in there. He was a wrestler. It was 4 foot of water. I could stand up in 4 foot of water. You know what I'm saying? And he was a strong swimmer. This was her opinion in her mind. So,
It's fun. Thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely.
and it also
Good job.
goes with the Todd Cease case. The same thing. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, sure. I'll be
Adam's out of here.
Yeah.
I shall return. I shall return. I must roam the city.
Okay then.
There is more going on with the Susquehanna River and Lower Paxton Township, and I cannot put my finger on it. I worked hard. I worked hard with police officers around here, fire department. I was a firefighter. And I don't talk about this much because it still bugs me to this day. Is we responded to a field fire at the Park Penn building, they used to call it. It used to be where, what the hell is it, Home Depot is or something. And we got there and see our lights went out on our engine. We couldn't figure out what was going on. Our headlights went out. So we're using the spots. So I got there and the chief says, he had security there. He said, "Where's this fire?" He says, "It's out there, sir." I said, "Okay." And Mike's going out and I said, "No, you're going to let me go with you." He says, "Okay, you come with me." And we went out there and it was a thing was probably a 10-foot round circle burned. What the hell burns like that? I've been a firefighter for 15 freaking years. When a fire burns, it burns like this.
It has
Okay?
a jagged edge.
Yeah. And this was a circular edge.
Smooth.
As a baby's ass. And we were getting back, and Mike kept saying, "I can't figure that one out. I can't figure this out. How could something burn like that?" And even if you would pour accelerants, the accelerants have a tendency to move like water, and it's going to make it still that point. So I was just getting into this UFO stuff, and I never thought about it that way. A 10-foot circle. You know, there was something happened there. And that plot of grass is still there. But that freaked me out. And I don't talk. I told the chief after so many years, I said to Mike, I said, "You ain't going to believe this, but I'm going to tell you." And Mike says, "I'll believe anything." When I told him, he said, "That answers my question."
But he was asking what the connection was with the Susquehanna. What's the connection with the Susquehanna Indians?
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I used to with a football team on the island. Okay, the Harrisburg Patriots, and then we had blah blah blah. We sometimes swear to God we heard Indian powwows going on,
Oh,
voices, and we look at each other. What the hell was that?
well, the Indians, many civilizations claim that they've had communications with aliens, just like you and I are talking right now.
Right.
And with they know about Bigfoot and everything. Like you said, there's always some connection between them.
Then when did the base
sure.
close down? Do you know?
Yeah, it's pretty bad airplane crashes on that base.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Homestead?
They had, it was Olmsted Air Force Base during the war, World War II. And then they closed it down.
Do you know what year about?
No, I don't. But I do know, I used to go down there and watch them land in them airplanes. And then when that closed down, that's when the state took it over and made it an airport.
Right, the international airport.
Mm-hmm. So it was Olmsted Air Force Base. It was a military base. That's where soldiers went and took off. Came back. And they had some pretty nasty crashes down there. I worked there as a security police officer. And
When it was when it's what it is now, Harrisburg International Airport.
Yeah. And the 6 secret planes are down there, the secret ones that I guarded. You'll find the girl I guarded out at the Indiantown Gap on display. She's out there. And there's a... Huh?
I think it shut down in 69.
Okay. But I'm just saying,
Just Googling it right now.
you got to remember, in order to get that runway, you got to come off the Susquehanna River. Okay. The Susquehanna River is, what would you call that place? It's a sacred. It's a sacred place. I don't know what else to say about it.
And then industry built 3 Mile Island.
God
And-
knows it was on that island before that was there.
Really?
Out of the wood. They sold it off.
Oh,
This area is just like Ralph was chased by a Bigfoot. He knows it was a Bigfoot, and that was up in Dauphin. I went up in Dauphin, and I seen places up there like, oh my God, if you walked 5 feet in there, you wouldn't find a person. Now there's abductions going on up in Dauphin. There's UFO, and there's Bigfoot up in Dauphin.
Oh yeah, people tell me of all kinds of weird things happening up there.
Perry, not Perry, I'm not thinking.
We're not talking about the county. We're actually talking about the
Peters
town of
Mountain.
Dauphin.
Peters Mountain's a hot spot, a real hot spot. I've seen some weird places up there. I don't know. It's just Dauphin County has more going on. There is more to Dauphin County than meets the eye. Trust me. There is more to Dauphin County meets the eye. We had a haunted house back here by McDevitt. They tore it down finally. People would hear people talking in there. There was nobody in there. Tony believes in underground bases, not in Lower Paxton Township. That'd never be hidden.
I think there's a lot of things. There are a lot of bases and weird things hidden in plain sight. I used to think in my hometown, the post office right in the alleyway where I lived was anywhere used for a bomb shelter may also be used for many other things. There were many buildings around that area that gave me the creeps. And there was one down in the alleyway. We used to make jokes about they're hiding Kennedy underground here. He's not really dead. Hitler's not dead either. Right? But I think a lot of these buildings and businesses are just covers. When I started finding out about airports, also were covers for underground dumps, what they call deep underground military bases.
the one with the big urinals is really good.
That one from Denver, Colorado.
Denver,
What was it, Denver Airport? They had some weird murals down, which are long been wiped away. But there have been weird stories coming out about that.
And another thing that is weird, which I think Uniontown Gap's Lebanon County. I think that's Lebanon County, if I'm correct. Close.
Sure.
They got a lot of weird shit going on out there, too.
You have to understand, there's a lot of country out there. There's very few homes out in these areas.
And
Trailer
they got
parks,
some
there's
shit
lots of
going on
woods
out there.
Creeks and
Me and Tony went out there in a
easily live
Bigfoot
out
sighting,
there if
too.
you wanted to. I had a friend who lived in Grantville that he actually had a recording of a Bigfoot when I was in the National Guard back in the 1980s. He had a recording of a Bigfoot on cassette tape.
Yeah.
and picture of footprints, real footprints with toes and everything. And he actually took this to an anthropologist. The anthropologist said I never heard howls or screams like that ever in my whole life by any animal. And the anthropologist that he talked to said that it sounded very much like a Japanese macaque, only much bigger. And when monkeys do not have the same vocal cords we have, they call a laryngeal sac, which keeps them from pronouncing words like you and I do.
That's funny he would bring that up. Butcherkowski played me something on the phone one night and made the hair stand up all over my body. He says, "You heard that plain as day?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Is that a Bigfoot?" He said, "No, it's a pissed off beaver." I had never heard nothing like it. I'd have been like, "Gone, man." He was pissed, and he said, "And see, you thought it was a Bigfoot." I said, "I didn't know what the hell it was." You know, a pissed off beaver.
Well, it's okay. So let's talk about Bigfoot.
Okay.
In lower Paxton, in chronological order.
What do you
Your
mean?
sightings, I mean.
As they came?
Yep.
Are we right back?
All right.
Okay. What happened with the Bigfoot in Lower Paxton Township? It all started out with a woman and her 2 grandkids off of Fairmont. If you look up from Fairmont, you can see the back of her home. Apparently, she don't live there no more. She got out of here. But she was drinking coffee, and she thought, well, I'll sit down and enjoy and look out there. And, you know, it's like a swampy area out there. And when she got out there was this thing about 8 foot tall standing there watching the construction workers, because that's when they started the other phase of the construction. And she said, well, she was going to get her binoculars because she wanted to see the face, and she wanted to get a picture of this. When she come back, it was gone. And then that time she had her grandchildren, and she grabbed her grandchildren and made them stay in the house for 2 hours to make sure this thing was gone. Well, according to her neighbor, I said, where did she go? She said she was so scared she moved. Just bought the damn place. And I'm like,
Just took off.
Just took off. I only found her by dumb luck. She called me. I couldn't even get the number off the phone. It would, I forget what the word was they used for it. And I just said, you know what, I want to drive up in that area. And I seen these 2 women talking. I thought, boy, they're talking very seriously about something. Something happened. And so the woman says, well, I got to go now. I think that man wants to talk to you. And she come over to me and says, how you doing? She says, you're Ross, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. I couldn't believe this. They talk about dumb luck.
Yeah.
And we just talked. And she said, I don't know if I'm going to stay here. I said, ma'am, they don't hurt nobody. Yeah, but what would they do with kids? And I said, I don't know. I never heard of anything happen to kids either. And that's what the police's issue is here with these sightings. Or what would happen to kids? They think they're a big dog and go up and pet them. That was the first sighting. The second sighting was Tony saw something up on a school playground. Okay. He to this day doesn't know if it was a Bigfoot, a prank, or what was going on there. So we haven't ruled out 100% of anything.
I'm going to wait for him to come back. I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, the next thing, we had a picture put under my doorstep of a Bigfoot near the... We couldn't know exactly where it was until we looked at it. That it was over at the midget football place where I used to coach football. And if you looked at the size of it, if that thing stood up, it would have been 9 foot tall. It was big. And so we went out, actually, me and Tony went over and drove on school property. So where do we get arrested? And Tony's running around. He don't come back, and he don't come back. And he comes back, and I says, did you find anything? No. I said, everything's lining up in this picture, but the 2 birch trees, where are they at? Oh, somebody pulled them out of the ground. I said, well, that thing was leaning in front of them. Nobody could have pulled. I couldn't do that. You couldn't. No way.
Right.
So roots and all were hanging there. So that would have been a 9 foot tall. I'm pretty sure he had to be close to 9 foot tall. Just if I find a picture, I'll show it to you. And then we had the one where I think it's right there. There's so many of them. I can't get them all lined up. We had the one where the state trooper was going down the road heading this way. This is Union Paws Road. And just before 100 yards past Grove Road, he see this thing walking down the center double lines. And he stopped, he hit it, and he said this thing had to be 8.5 foot tall, 8.5 foot, something like that. And he said he hit it at the light, it went like that and growled. He said you could see the fur hanging down. And he said it ran up in the woods like it wasn't even there. The hill, you got those little hills. He was gone. He threw the car in reverse, went up Grove Road. The road, I can't think of the name of the road on that side, but the first road on the left-hand side, he went back because the woods went back into there. And he never found it again. He don't know where it was hunkered down in there, scared, or what, because it got hit with blinding light. So he don't know what happened there. There was another son. God, I had to get them out. I can't remember where they all were. Where was the other one at? There was one over by the construction site. It was seen by my wife. She saw the shadow of it. And we did a quick reverse, went back, and it was gone. I think it's the same one that was in the Glen. It was over there, going around the construction equipment. Curious of it. I think so. And then the last one that I had, no, the other one was when I came back from the bookstore, this guy in a white Suburban, he come flying up the road and he did a cut across right for almost had him broadside. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? So he went on down the road and he ran a stop sign. I said, what is going on with this guy? So I followed him, and they made these special places for parking for extra vehicles. And he parked in there like this. Well, I went down past these two little roads, and I parked here and threw my reverse lights on because I was going to go back and talk to him. Well, my Jeep, it really lights up. And this black creature ran between us. And I got Laura Paxson involved in this. And they said they'd do it on the QT. They didn't want me to tell nobody else about it, so this is on the QT. They said the navel of that creature would have had to have been above the hood of that vehicle. Wow. I'm like, are you serious? Mm-hmm. I was a nervous wreck, too. You can ask Tony. I was shook up big time.
Mm-hmm. How far away was it?
He was, from me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say he was about 30 feet.
Ooh. So you got a really good look at the texture of his...
His calves were this wide. Had to be this wide. And
so that was a foot and a half? What are you showing there? I mean,
it's what?
I mean, how wide?
I'd say it was over maybe 15 inches wide calf. He was a big boy. He was pure black. And this guy got out of his vehicle. I thought he was nuts. And he's running at it with a camera, trying to take pictures of this thing. What I think he did is when he went down this road, he saw it. And he did to come back to get it.
He was chasing it.
He was chasing it. He wasn't chasing very far. Because me and Tony went back and lit up the whole area. We couldn't find nothing.
Well, okay, so you saw the creature run away?
He ran up on, if you look, me and Tony looked at it, where the houses are built there, the last rows, there's like a little bit of a pathway, like not a pathway, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's grass. I think he ran up there, ran up through there, and went over to the woods by Votech and hid out. That's where I think he went. Now, the one that I saw was at Fairmont and Barleycorn Square. You've seen it. You know where it's at. Mm-hmm. But the thing that was so funny, I almost hit that thing. And when he jumped that guardrail, and he was jumping over those soar caps, I call them soar caps. And when he got to that wood, that was 58 feet to the woods, he turned around and looked at me. And then he ran, turned the corner, and ran up. I can hear him splashing going up in the water. But the thing that got me kind of concerned is what was that black cloud that came and was at an angle going up that hill. After he went that way, this black cloud was coming. Well, you don't think I'd make some phone calls on that one? Nobody knows what that was. Mm-hmm. And everybody says, well, it's a witch. They follow them. I said there was no feet, no head, no arms, no legs, no broomstick. So I don't know what that was.
And what was the shape? Similar to a cat?
Mm-mm. No, it was 2.5 feet wide, up, and about maybe 5.5 feet long.
Okay.
was big. First, I thought it could have been a panther then, because we had a panther sighting in that area. And this thing was too big. I don't know what that was. I can't figure that out.
Well, so you got a good look at the creature's face.
Yes, it was
And
black.
can you describe it?
He was black.
Mm-hmm.
He had a big, wide nose. You could see the whites glaring from the lights of my car. He lit up and it was just all black, like a gorilla. That's the only way I could describe him.
Was it dusk at that time, or was it dark?
It was dark.
Yeah. Did his eyes reflect?
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't know about it till 11 o'clock at night. He didn't see it. It was only like a couple.
I saw it at 9:30.
little while. Yeah, and I was home from work, and then he called me on the phone about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I came and got him.
I said, I think we should go up there, shouldn't you? Don't you think? Let's go take a look around. But it was too dark. I couldn't see anything. And I wasn't about to cross that creek with dress shoes
Right.
on, trying to look for footprints.
So
Right.
the reflection of his eyes, was it similar to an animal? The way a deer's eyes would reflect light? Or a cat, a dog?
According to him, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. I just seen the whites, and then I guess the whites that I was seeing was the light from my light hitting him made him look white in the eyes.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mean pupils.
Yeah,
I
that
meant
kind
the
of
iris.
freaked me
Those
out,
weren't
too.
The iris reflected.
Well, and then he was well groomed. And that was another thing I was talking to Tony about. This thing was well groomed. Could this have been a guy in a suit? And I figured he was about 8 foot tall. You had to be a basketball player to be in that suit to be that tall.
And he jumped over the guardrail.
And he jumped over the guardrail. I'd kill myself if I jumped over that guardrail.
Right.
So.
And then he ran into the creek.
He ran into the creek.
And headed away, and then you saw a dark mist. If it was dark outside, how?
My lights lit
Mhm.
that whole area up.
And something, so it might have been an animal.
I don't know.
He also was playing over a shadow. Cast a shadow with trees.
He did shadow cast, and it didn't resemble anything from what I saw.
So you tried to
Oh,
imitate the,
Tried to.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. We tried everything.
Yeah. I didn't see what he was talking about, so
Right.
I have no idea what he saw.
Right.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was just, I hit it with my bright lights with him, and then after he left, this cloud, looked like a black cloud,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on an angle going up that big hill. You know that hill? It was like a big cloud. I've talked to Stan Gordon about it. I've talked to Ray about it. Talked to Butch. I talked to Lon. They don't know what it is. He says it's some kind of unknown phenomenon, maybe. And I said, well, I seen two things in one night. That was a lot for me to take in. I didn't sleep right for 2 weeks after that. That bugged me.
So
I think the cloud bugged me more than him.
Oh.
Really. I couldn't figure out what the hell that thing
Maybe he
was.
farted. No, I'm kidding.
Did you get at that time when you were witnessing one thing after another? Like, what was going through your head?
This is crazy. This is just crazy. I can't believe this is happening. I couldn't believe it.
Taking a picture.
It was. You couldn't with the way my windows were in that
It
truck
probably
and
was
the
too
bars.
fast.
That thing cleared that guardrail. Like we call those guys that jump with
Hurdlers.
hurdles.
Yeah.
He cleared it like a hurdle jumper.
Mhm.
If I'd be hanging on the
I'm
other
trying to picture
side.
this. It makes me think of O.J. Simpson doing the Hertz commercials.
That's old school.
O.J. Bigfoot, woo!
Uh-huh.
I don't know where he's at today. Could it have been a guy in a costume? Yes.
But he ran up through the creek.
Yeah, he was going up the creek. You hear him splashing.
That's kind of odd.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
where he would have went, he'd have ran into Lakewood Hills.
I don't know where he would have ran to. I'm
Eventually.
not going to even assume
Mhm.
that. Hi, Sharon.
Yeah.
And, okay, so so you called Mark and me. Did we go there 3 days after the sighting about?
Yeah, I remember when we went. I was still freaked in the head.
Yeah, it was 2-3 days later
About
because
probably something like that.
you
Yeah.
guys took pictures and shit.
So you take us there to the location.
Mm-hmm.
You put the car in park, and then what happens?
Almost lost the freaking Jeep.
It pops out of gear with me in the back seat,
Oh
no one
my
in the
God.
front,
Yeah, you
and
told
off
me
it
about
goes.
told me about that.
I'll never forget him. Whoa, 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 whoa! He's on the way to the right. Whoa, 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 whoa! Mark Superman.
Yeah, he jumps in front of it, puts his hands. He
jumps in
puts
front of
himself
it?
in front of the vehicle and
Oh,
starts
yeah.
slowing it down. But
Oh my God! I'll never
What's that?
forget that.
yeah,
Yeah.
What a day.
let me just say. So
Just
a
kidding.
few days later, we show up.
Hmm.
And we did go along the creek side and noticed some imprints. Nothing distinguishable except for that one strange print that was on the side of the bank.
That
And the pictures that I took, it looked as if it was truly a footprint, then it would have had 3 toes.
Mm-hmm.
The way the front part of the foot would have dug into the bank
Mm-hmm.
as the foot lifted.
I think the
it
toes went this way when it did
It
that.
could have been. It was, and that's the thing too,
My
because you
doctor
hear
looked at the
often
cast.
about.
But don't you feel that
Bigfoot.
some of those were inconclusive?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
I'm not convinced
My
that
doctor
anything
looked at
was.
that
Yeah.
cast,
But what I
and
but
his feeling was the toes bent this way.
well, here's some coincidences. First of all, people will say when they see Bigfoot running, the foot actually bends as well, like in the middle of the
Mhm.
foot. Okay.
Mhm.
So, anyways, this is on a bank. It's not clear.
Man, this thing's killing me.
The cast that we took wasn't great. You know, I mean, we didn't get any type of. The
Yeah, but we
ground
have
was so
arches.
soft there. It was falling as I was throwing plaster into the imprint. The whatever detail would have been there was gone because the dirt was so soft.
But you got pictures.
I did get pictures,
And
and I
you sent
got
them to
a
Butch,
shape
Butch-
that was similar to that of a foot.
Butch
So
says
that's
that's
just
a Bigfoot.
interesting. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that is the
Well, I was
print,
trying to compare those
but it's
to
interesting.
pictures of footprints and the plaster cast copy you
Mhm.
gave me, and I compared that with the one that was in Tibet. I think was supposed to be the Yeti
Okay.
print. I ordinarily would see actual toe prints, and that was something watching last night where these were feet, only
Right.
larger, gigantic human-looking feet. When I see something that's indistinguishable, even that Larry guy from that Expedition Bigfoot show
Right.
saw something in the ground up where he was with the primatologist, Miranda or whatever her name is, Miranda. But what he saw, he did see some prints in the ground. He wasn't sure what they were. It could have been deer scraping around. Deer
Okay.
are crepuscular. They come out certain times at dusk and dawn,
Mhm.
so they get away from predators so they can feed quickly and hide. And they usually come and make a racket, and they kind of step on each other's footprints and stuff. And he said these are inconclusive. I don't know what these are, but he did find 1 or 2 real, actual big prints with toes and balls of a foot, and the heel and the actual groove around the foot. So, and I'm thinking, and these things that large can make an impression in mud like that.
Yeah.
It has to be something that weighs over at least 300 pounds. It has to be about 9 to 10 feet or 8 feet, 9 feet tall.
Well,
You know.
my doctor looked at it, and we laid it down. He says, "Look, you got this in here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's a foot." And he looked at different things. He said, "The reason you didn't get a lot of toes is when he hit that bank, he bent them toes back and then pulled out and went up."
Yeah, because there was dirt that was kicked to the bottom of that print.
Yes.
Yeah. But see,
That's
people
exactly
walk
what
their
he just
dogs
said.
back there.
Mhm.
And I went back and looked around. I didn't see anything but deer prints when I went. Those other things were gone.
Right.
I guess the rain eroded them away.
Well, did you see the plaster?
no.
Or, okay, because there was some plaster
He
next to
Couldn't
the
remember
print
where
that I
exactly
made.
you took. I don't know how
It was
far up
over
the creek
here.
you went.
It was
I don't even know if
close.
you
It was
went
close to the road.
I didn't see anything like those imprints. I saw deer
Yeah.
prints. I saw the
Yeah.
hooves. So evidently deer go back
Yeah.
there too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the
Yeah.
reason why I'm asking is
And my
because
fingerprints.
you would have
That's
seen
it.
like where the print
I
was.
showed those that
Yeah.
because of
print down
plaster.
here. It's
I actually had
upstairs.
plaster that like excess. I
Well,
was just flinging
looking
on the
for it, but
ground
it was
there.
gone. We had a rain.
Mhm.
That I think after you took the pictures and everything, and we had rain, and that stuff was gone, and I was like, "Damn it! I wanted to see
Well, that's what
this."
stinks because the
Yeah.
ground was so soft there. So yeah, it's you're right. Nothing.
Here's where he's
Yeah.
going. This is what my doctor said. This is a foot. And he said the reason you didn't have the toes is because as heavy as this creature was, he bent his own toes back. That had to hurt. He bent the toes back, and then when he left to go up, he kicked out.
Yeah, but how long would you say the footprint was? I didn't get to measure it.
It's about that long.
But it is kind of thin.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not wide.
Something that
I
big
talked to
in a
him.
wet ground would leave a
Yeah,
bigger
let me
impression,
finish
don't
here
you
now.
think? Yeah.
I talked to Lon about it.
Okay.
And says that definitely is a juvenile footprint. As far
Well,
as he's
how did
concerned.
he know it wasn't just a regular human
No, it
footprint.
wasn't shaped. That's not
Juvenile-
shaped like a human.
I don't know. You said this thing was
Yeah.
big. I don't think a juvenile would be 8 feet tall.
Well, I don't know if he was with his dad or not. Maybe that thing that was going up the hill was him going on fours.
Yeah, maybe there could have been a family up there. That's true.
It is.
But
You
to have
and
nobody around there to see that.
I purposely took
there's a lot of houses
Patty's.
around there.
I took Patty's footprint
Yeah.
out there, and I took his footprint out there. And I said to my doctor, I got some presents for you. He says, wait a minute, I'm in here with a patient. I'll be right out. And I laid them out, and all the women were looking at it. And she says, I know about that Patty's footprint. She was talking about it. And they were looking at this. He was looking at this. I says, tell me this is a footprint. He says, he looked it over, and he said, yep, there it is.
Yeah, and then Patty footprint, wasn't that taken when the ground was dry?
I think
When
it
they
was
took that
kinda
cast?
dry, Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
thing
wasn't
left
very
a hell of a
thick, yeah.
depression. It was almost like 2.5 inches thick for just being on dry ground.
Mhm.
So that tells you how much weight is behind these things.
Right.
If that was a female, they may be a little bigger and maybe weigh a little more.
Females are more smaller than the male. Even
well,
the
they're
dogs.
still larger. They have to give birth. They're wider. If she was a she did have breasts. She was a little wider than I've seen people taking pictures of what look to be males. They seem to be taller and more streamlined. Yeah.
Well, anyhow, what I saw. I saw a Bigfoot or an actor. That's the only thing I could say. There's only two. And if that's an actor, he's crazy.
Yeah. What are your views, Jeremy, on when these things? We and him already talked about this too. Lon Strickler has some theories. Everybody has theories on why they appear and disappear so
Right.
fast. Interdimensional, that they go from place to place. I had a theory about could they be possibly, if the UFOs are connected with these things, like everybody, which I think they may be.
Sure.
I now believe that might be true. Possible they could be teleporting these things.
Why didn't he?
On and
Why
off
did he
and
go
not only dimensional.
interdimensional?
Yeah.
The one I saw. Why did he go running up the creek? Why wouldn't he go interdimensional for
Okay,
protection?
let's talk about the markings around the pond.
Okay.
Because not only were there markings around the pond, but was that
We had
also
claw marks.
Was
We
that
had
also
claw
the
marks.
print that did that across the road from the pond? Was that at that same time where you saw some prints? Was it in the snow?
No. This was in the grass.
That was something different.
It was one print in the ground, which we thought might have just been a hole in the ground.
Yeah,
Which-
he didn't cast it. Me and Tony cast
Okay,
it.
well,
Butch
first of all,
Reed
let's
cast it,
talk
I
about.
cast it,
Well,
and
let's
Ross
just.
cast it.
Okay, so this pond that we're going to talk about right now, this is close to the farmer's field.
Yeah,
It's
Right
right
across
across this. It's right across the street from.
It's right where the pond is.
Yeah.
It's right at the pond.
Right.
We can show you where it is. It's
Yeah,
probably
I've
still
been
there.
down there. Yeah.
Are you seeing the hole
Mhm,
or whatever that thing is? We took a cast of it. Now, whether it's a foot or not, like I said, to me, it's still inconclusive.
But it's an amazing print regardless.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but when you see these guys, these investigators pour the cast and they pull it up,
Yeah.
you see all the wrinkles from the foot. You see
Yeah, right.
everything
Yeah.
of something
We
organic.
haven't gotten that yet.
When I pulled that up, all I saw was like striations in the ground was from the dirt. I don't know what we have there, but I
Right.
took pictures of it anyway. We took the plaster. We went out and got the plaster. We did it anyway. And I'm thinking,
Fred
why aren't there
Saluka
other
looked at
prints
it.
around?
Uh huh.
And he says it's a Bigfoot footprint, not the best. Bigfoot's footprint would have been better.
Well, is he talking
Well, that
about
was my
one,
first
or-
casting. We never did it before.
Right.
And what Stan Gordon told me, the next time you cast a print, that type of a print, push the substance in further so you get the toes.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know what the hell
Oh,
we
sure.
were doing. That was the first time we ever made a print.
We were trying not to break it.
And we
Right.
high-fived each other because, goddamn, we got this print.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
find the picture.
And it was
to show you,
16
Jeremy.
by
I don't know what
5.
it's
So, and a good investigator, I talked to the landscaper.
Uh-huh.
I talked to him, and Joe says, Jesus Christ, tell me there's a
Okay.
creature like that running
Now,
loose.
Here.
So,
Oh wait, go ahead and finish.
well, you
Ross,
got
I'm
it.
sorry.
I mean, he went back and he looked at it and he said, our trackers did not make that footprint. Or not the footprint, but that hole in the ground. But see, they got to report any damage they do.
Right.
And he said, that's not from us.
I have the picture. Now I know you remember that. We also got a piece of a chestnut in there, which we picked out later.
Yeah,
We
I
tried
got
to
that
wash
as
out all the
souvenir.
hair and
I was going to
stuff.
have a chain made around it.
Now, if you look at this as opposed to this is another plaster cast.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't take this. This is
Right.
from a TV show. See the toes? You see the foot? You see?
Yeah,
you can
right.
actually see the wrinkles. You can actually see
Mhm.
all the striations of a foot. The bottom. You ever look at the bottom of your feet? You ever see your toes and everything? That would make an impression in the ground. If I took my foot right now and went outside barefoot and stomped in the ground, you're going to see that's a foot.
Right.
Like what we have, I don't know what the hell it is, but it could be like an old residual. I couldn't understand why there was no other footprints around. Why there were no others except for one.
Took pictures, and Butch looked at those pictures. He said they're definitely Bigfoot pictures.
All right.
I'm talking to professionals.
Yeah.
I don't just go by what I do or say or anybody else. I let professionals look at stuff.
Well, I sometimes feel that some
And that way you learn
lazy
what to look for.
Sure.
and instead of investigating something and going into details,
But-
they just come out with this shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
yeah,
that's-
they're going interdimensional. Well,
My
that doesn't-
doctor proved that
doesn't
was a
help me.
foot.
But tell the story of the pond and what you found there, like everything from beginning to end.
I was on this side of the pond. Tony and what the hell, Adam were on the
Adam's
other
with
side.
us, yeah.
And Adam yelled, "Oh, Ross, you might want to come over and look at this." I said, "This better be good." So I jumped in the car, drove around. That's when my leg problem was starting. And I got down. I thought, "Oh my God, this is a Bigfoot," because there was claw marks where he tried to come up, which we should have got some of them. I never thought about that.
I had some pictures of those too. They were-
too, and
Yeah.
he was wider than me with his hands.
we even found
Uh-huh.
a dog print.
And
So it definitely wasn't a bear.
oh no. Uh-uh. And when I brought Fred up, he said, "Ross, he didn't go this way. He went this way." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking?" I found more big footprints,
Okay.
but I didn't have enough casting material. And he said, "There's a baby one here too." So
I don't know.
he said,
I
"We
wasn't
need
there.
to go." What the hell's going on? We need to go
Is that in here?
across the road. And the minute we walked across the road, we picked up all these footprints. And they only went 30 feet into the cornfield. Into the cornfield here. Okay? And this is the last place he was. And I'm like, "Fred, this is not right." And Fred said he went interdimensional. I'm like, "What?" Interdimensional.
Everybody says that.
And I'm feeling for the doorknob.
so they can't,
you know.
or investigate.
And then here we had 2 Bigfoots, and we had a baby, a little baby footprint here. Well, you see what I'm drawing. You're not seeing it. The baby here, the 2 big footprints here. Where we're thinking he went this way. That's not what he did. He said, "Did you guys go across the road?" I said, "Hell no." He said, "Let's go across the road." And then that's when we found the big footprints. It wasn't like footprints going in. It was like scarfing up the corn that was already chipped. They chip it. They don't, you know what I mean? And he said, "Well, I'm looking like, okay, he stopped here and he had to go back." He said, "No, stopped here," and he went interdimensional. And then he goes down here over to this part, and we find a stick that he says they brushed their teeth with.
Really?
I don't know where the hell he did.
You think I'm
I don't
kidding?
know where he came up with that.
And he said, and then in this area,
Sticks.
well, listen,
Like the Flintstones.
in this area, they went to bed. Now, you got to remember the roads, like right here, you know, and they slept here with this, and I'm thinking it's deer slept there.
Yeah.
My personal.
The grass, the yellow grass in that area, it looked to me like something was laying there, but I think it was a deer bed.
I think it was
Bigfoots don't
too.
make nests. They make huts,
Yeah.
you know, out of trees and things. They are a type of primate. They would make some kind of a nest very similar to an Indian hogan or teepee, as like they would set up teepee things as. And some people
I don't believe
it's
they brush their teeth.
warnings and stuff. I don't believe they brush their teeth with sticks like Fred Flintstone. But I don't know where he got that at. And I'm like, is this guy drunk?
I don't know. I've talked to many cops, and they always said that farm was really weird. When you drive up that main road, they're like paving it a little bit, you know, because they want to make it that they can travel on it.
Yeah.
If you go up that road, you pull in, it's like pulling on a Hollywood set. That farm goes for over a couple miles.
Okay, well, that reminds me. Let's go to the other sighting that you had there on the property, the apple snitcher.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's a cutie. He had to be about 5 foot tall. He wasn't
I've
very
never heard him
tall.
described as cute before.
Yeah, he's just a little cutie. He was in trouble. His dad probably beat his ass. But anyhow, Tony was looking for binoculars.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking, I'm like, what the hell? This thing ran across. It was like an earth mover put this dirt
Yeah,
And he
keep
run
in mind
from-
that at that time they had like dirt and trees
Yeah.
that were
And,
growing out of that, and there was a little power plant above
Yeah.
there too. For the
Oh,
and
water.
he would run.
I didn't see any apple.
Wait, there's a
trees.
power plant up there too?
There was. That's
Power
all gone
plant?
now. The farmer got rid of all that stuff's gone now.
I don't know
That
what you're
earth, that
talking
moved
about.
earth is gone.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I know where we were.
But
We were
yeah,
sitting right at
well,
stop
the
sign
dirt.
across the road.
Yeah, I need to
Yeah.
tell the story.
Yeah.
The dirt, he would run from that pile to that tree, reach up, grab an apple, run back. I found out it is an apple tree.
Mm-hmm.
And he went back, he come back, do the same thing again. He did like repetitious, like 3 or 4 times. Tony said, "Where in the or the binoculars?" And
Well,
he-
I just saw a guy walking. I saw
Yeah.
there's a walking
No,
path, and when we went
that
back
guy,
an hour later,
no, I
he
know
was
who
coming
you
down
are.
Later's Lane. There is a path that goes
He's
up
not
there
allowed up there.
with a cap and a
He
I
the
hadn't seen no apple
the
sniffers.
creature turned. The little guy turned and looked at me. He had a complete dark black face. You could tell this is an animal. And then he just booked. And we went back to McDevitt thinking he might have came down through there. We could never find him again.
Well, when we went
I
back to the area,
Definitely
that was
think
900 feet away.
that's not far. Hell, I
You
used to
saw
be able to
almost
tell my
900 feet
football
away.
players 100 feet away. I had good eyes.
As opposed to 935 feet. I Google mapped it.
Mm-hmm.
From that stop sign to where that thing is 930 feet away.
That's good.
How did you see all
I
that?
got good
930
eyes,
feet
buddy.
away?
It's black. You can
You
make
must have
the
eyes
whole
like the Hubble
feature out.
telescope.
But anyhow, you didn't need binoculars.
That's why
to
I didn't
that
see it.
guy.
I wanted my binoculars. I was trying to find my binoculars. I couldn't find them.
I hate it when people down me because I know what I see.
No, I'm just saying I didn't see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I don't know. What
Wait,
to
so
say-
you didn't see anything?
No, because in reality, it's
no, first of all,
mouthful.
it's 930 feet away. First of all, I couldn't find my binoculars. And that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see through the
I can't
binoculars.
believe he missed those
I didn't know what he was
binoculars.
looking at.
Sitting
Yeah.
there. But,
Yeah.
you know, these things are being seen. We know they are. What can we do about it? Nothing. Now, a little guy like that, I might have been able to wrestle with a little bit. Bring him down, cuff him, take him away.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And those juveniles, Bigfoots, they stay pretty hidden. The adults stay pretty hidden themselves. Everybody's seen these juveniles, but they usually stay close to their parents, don't you think? So wouldn't you see them like in groups?
Not necessarily.
Primates do not let their young ones wander
What if
around
it's an albatwitch?
without the adult.
Well, that was another thing. I don't know how
believe in
big
the
albatwitches are.
Why don't you
That's
believe? Well, why don't you believe in the albatwitch?
It's an ancient. It's an old. It's an old sighting that happened up in the Marietta County area like 100 years ago, and no one's really seen anything like it since. And we think it's some kind of tourist attraction thing. So no one has seen an albatwitch, and there was supposed to be a story about a diamond-shaped creature or something running around the woods up there, Marietta. You heard that story too?
What?
Diamond-shaped creature. Its head has got a diamond shape. It's got a long, thin body, kind of like.
Oh,
those-
you talking about Stickman?
Well, out in Marietta, I'm just describing it almost like a Prantis alien.
Oh, God.
Mantis.
Well,
praying
across the
mantis.
river is Toad
Yeah.
Road, where
Yeah.
Toad Road used to be, and
Have you been
that's-
to Chickies Rock?
oh, sure,
Yeah,
it's beautiful
that's
there.
our area where they claim to see that with the albatwitch.
Right.
That's why we went up there.
Praying mantis is a
Yeah.
mean mama.
Well, have you
Yeah.
heard that the Susquehannocks recognized the albatwitch as a actual being?
Yeah, I've never. I don't know, but it is part of. It's become part of the, I guess, the cryptid lexicon now, and the whole thing. I'm not too sure. No one has seen one since. What happened to them? They're like little monkey, like baby Bigfoots, or little monkeys that like apples. They could have been some kind of
They throw the apples at people.
Bigfoots.
Yeah.
And they threw the apples at people, but lots of primates will do that to protect their territory. Chimpanzees have done that. I'm not saying it's chimpanzees running around Marietta, but there's some explanation for it.
Right.
You know, if you're in a primates area, especially with gorillas, orangutans, and chimpanzees, they will protect that territory and fight tooth and nail. They will be aggressive. They will throw rocks at you. They will throw their own poop at you. They will do all.
Well, Bigfoot does that.
So
And
it's
yeah,
cat-
Bigfoot has been known to do
Throws rocks.
some things like that. When you saw that thing that night, did it smell bad?
So there
I mean,
was an
really
odor
bad,
in there.
like to the point where your eyes are burning stench.
Well, my Jeep was all closed up. I wasn't
Yeah.
in there. I could smell it, though.
I understand people can smell this thing miles away
Yeah.
because it covers itself with poop and possibly dead things. To
This
camouflage
thing,
itself.
it
think this
was
thing would stink
just
to high
too
heaven?
well. It was well groomed.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
The one that you saw.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah,
heard that
last
he,
before.
night.
he looked like
So-
he looked like an oversized gorilla.
So what do you think a Bigfoot is?
I think it's some kind of. I do believe that if it's alien related, I believe that they are protecting certain species of creatures that have supposed to be died off here thousands of years, millions of years ago. It's even believed that Neanderthal man's still running around somewhere, and dinosaurs. I don't think they stay here for long periods of time. I think they're allowed to maybe visit, so to speak, quotation marks, and I use the word visit, underline it 1,000 times. It's possible that they're being teleported here and teleported back to where they're going. They've got themselves a nice little zoo up around that area somewhere. They're protecting the life on this earth, and I think they've been doing it for thousands upon millions of years. We were talking about the other night on the phone, Ross, that maybe that all these cryptids and all these creatures have been here for millions of years. I mean, gargoyles? How long do we know about gargoyles? They're on every building, old architecture since...
Yeah, but seeing them has just
century.
started happening
Yeah.
recently.
And the
within
shadow
the past
people have
2
been...
years.
And shadow people have actually been around for thousands of years. They've been talked about. Mothman, the Jersey Devil's one, like more of a newer story.
So I don't know if I believe
Yeah.
the Jersey Devil.
I'm not sure I
Tough
do
one.
either. That's kind of a really bizarre story.
That's
Uh-huh.
tough.
But I love stuff like that has to do with that kind of thing, and it kind of makes me...
That's tough.
Because it's a strange cryptid you can't explain. You can explain away Bigfoot. It's possibly some old primate, what's the Aristopithecus or Gigantopithecus that lived hundreds, thousands of years ago. But that creature looked more like a giant orangutan. But these things have been described as looking as either gorillas, like he said, Neanderthal men with hair, or just plain human beings with hair. They're just very big. Like imagine Andre the Giant with hair. Pretty much, Andre the Giant was to me like a damn Bigfoot they shaved.
I can. He was in the Bionic Man.
Very big man.
He was in the Bionic Man
Might
episode.
explain the disease acromegaly, which causes
He used to eat
gigantism.
over here at the Village Tavern. He
Yeah.
ate 9 hamburgers.
Human beings develop acromegaly, which is a growth disease.
Uh-huh.
They look to me like Bigfoots that have been shaved.
Oh,
Maybe
sure.
it's some kind of genetic throwback, and some people get this. However, our frail human bodies can't deal with it. The Bigfoot was meant to be that big, not the Homo sapien. Homo sapien or Homo erectus are not meant to be that big. So therefore the disease would kill us.
Yeah.
This is not a disease, it's a genetic mutation. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think that the aliens probably are teleporting. They've had these
I
things.
see the same.
Maybe even the Loch Ness Monster. Maybe even these sea creatures are being seen in the lakes, all these lake monsters. And they're being seen all over the world, not just in Loch Ness. Lake Champlain, Vermont, Lake Fiji in Japan, Lake Okanaga, or Nokonada, or whatever, in Canada, and everywhere else across the world. And I'm learning about more of these things all the time. So there has to be some connection between the aliens and these creatures. And how do we know that these prehistoric monsters didn't have... People said they're seeing baby dinosaurs, Ross, right? Running around. How do we know they don't have some... Maybe they've always had abilities that human beings are not privileged to. Or primates. Maybe these primates have these abilities. Maybe it's always been that way. All we have to work with is fossils, skeletons, things in the ground. We don't know what these things could be or what kind of powers they may have. They may have always had these abilities.
Bigfoots have been known to back into trees and go,
Go.
find them.
Yeah. Go interdimensional.
Yeah, they can hide.
I think Bigfoot is a certain type of gorilla. I really do. It's a big gorilla. From what I saw, it looked like a big gorilla. Not a silverback. Bigger than a silverback. I think they're a gorilla-type creature. I don't think there's any man or hormones in it when one of these creatures. I think they're a creature of all their own. I think they've been here for thousands of years. I don't think the aliens have anything to do with these creatures. I really don't, because these creatures could tear an alien in half if they get pissed at an alien. I don't think an alien could control a Bigfoot. I don't think it has anything to do with
They
that.
can control a human being. They can control a creature. I don't.
I don't. I also heard a story that these Bigfoots were bad people back on planets
Excuse me.
where these alien greys came from. They didn't know what to do with these Bigfoots, so they brought them here and put them on Earth and let us deal with them. But we're basically not really dealing with them because we're not capturing any of them. My theory of my doctor asked me, we got in a big discussion about this. His son's a Bigfoot lover. He says, have we ever found a body? No. Have we ever found bones? No. So you're trying to tell me these things are real? Yes. We don't have proof that they're
Well,
real.
that doesn't mean anything. I never found a grizzly bear's skeleton, but I know they exist.
realistic here.
Yeah.
We're not finding. He said, Ross, how long we've been looking for these animals? I said 60 years. Have you found a body? Nope. He's found bones.
They're
Nope.
being protected.
I said,
We know about them. There is somebody that knows about them. They're being protected to keep these goobers from running out in the woods and shooting at them. We're trying to kill people and hurt people by shooting and looking for these things.
I
A lot of
just
things are being
think
hidden
they're
from
a
us for that
creature. It's got its own. It's a creature of a habitat of its own. It is a good hide and seeker.
So you think it lives in our world?
Yes, I do. I think it's
I
a
think
very,
it's from
and I
here.
think what it
I
does,
don't think it's alien.
it comes back from the prehistoric age, toward the end of the prehistoric age.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. I don't think it's ever either completely gone extinct like a lot of other creatures. I think are still out. The dire wolf you were talking about the other night, that possibly still exists.
There's two of them.
And they're already finding out. Do
sighted in
you know what a
Wisconsin.
thylacine is?
Mm.
Tasmanian wolf.
Oh, sure.
It's not really a wolf. It's a marsupial. Last
Mhm.
one supposedly died in the 1800s in Hobart Zoo in London. But there's Londoners who are still claiming they see these things running around, hiding from people. They were supposed to be extinct. So either somebody brought them back genetically, or they never really went extinct at all. We know the passenger pigeon is extinct. We know the dodo bird, the giant moa, which is like a giant ostrich-like creature that makes the ostrich look like a sparrow, and the elephant bird, which is also another giant bird. We know those are extinct, but how do we know they're not? There's reports of giant wingless, flightless birds that are running around eating people and stuff in some of these stories around all over the world. So either it's just a tourist attraction joke or it's some kind of hoax. It has pictures of them. There's
Right.
no footprints. There's no bodies. There's no skeletons except old fossils.
Okay, I think I'm going to stop the podcast right there. It's about the 1 hour mark. Thank you very much once again to Adam, Tony, and Ross. On the next episode, I'm going to have a one-on-one with Ross. We're just going to be talking about more things that you cannot get to. It's going to be plenty of UFO, I believe more Bigfoot stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us this episode. If you would like to attend our monthly meetings, you may do so by visiting the Lower Paxton Municipal Building in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We meet the second Wednesday of every month between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. Please visit our Facebook page, that is Paranormal Search of Pennsylvania. There you will find links to our YouTube channel and website.